As it's 5 o'clock, we will start the meeting, a general committee meeting for Cowra Council, 11th of March. In accordance with Local Government Act, Cowra Council is recording general committee and council meetings. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded on Tuesday morning. By speaking at these meetings, you agree to being recorded. Please ensure that when you speak at this meeting, you ensure you are respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Cowra Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this meeting. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land in which we gather, the Wiradjuri people, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. We have a number of apologies. Councillor Nikki Kiss, OAM, who is ill, Councillor Cheryl Downey, who is on holidays, and Councillor Sharon Delbo, who has a work-related matter to attend to. And the Director of Corporate Services, Michael Jones, is also ill, and an apology for this evening. I need a mover and seconder. Somebody move. Councillor West, Councillor Judy Smith, thank you very much. All in favour? Now, disclosure of interest. Councillors and staff, please indicate in relation to any interest you need to declare, what report item you are declaring an interest in, whether the interest is pecuniary or non-pecuniary, and what is the nature of the interest. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to declare a non-pecuniary interest in item 5.1 as a family member is involved in the submission of the application, and I will leave the room.
Thank you. There are no public presentations, no public forum, nobody registered to speak. We have a confirmation of the minutes of the General Committee meeting held on the 12th of February 2024. Somebody move that. Councillor Smith, Councillor Judy Smith and Councillor Paul Smith. Thank you very much. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Now we have the donation from the Wyangla Fireworks Committee, commercial waste event from the Director of Corporate Services, the bin hire charges. Moved Councillor Watt, seconded Councillor West. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm very excited to put this forth and would encourage all my councillors to consider supporting this recommendation. The Councillor West and myself met with the Wyangla Country Club a fortnight ago to discuss all of the many things that they have planned for the year ahead and all of the great work they're doing to encourage more people to come to Wyangla community and to the village, and this event is just one of those things. Last year, the event was estimated to bring around 5,000 people to the region, and I think us taking the step to support them by taking on some of the cost of the event bin hire would be a great way for us to say that we're backing them in the great efforts they're making with this event. Thank you.
Councillor West.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to support my colleague and endorse her comments and add that I'm not sure if we've all been invited to the fireworks display, but I would suggest if you get the opportunity to head out there, that they've had big crowds. I've been a couple of times, big crowds, and really just a great family, relaxed atmosphere and events. So to be able to support it is something that council, very modest and perhaps small way, is something that should be doing and displaying that support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor West. Any further comments? Councillor Smith.
If I may, is this the only application for funding for this event, or was there others?
I'll take that on notice, Madam Chair. I'm not aware of any, but I'll take that on notice and provide that information to councillors prior to the council meeting.
Thank you. Any further questions? Right to reply? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Now, number 3.2 on page 35, the investments from the Director of Corporate Services. I have Councillor Paul Smith, Councillor Judy Smith. You would like to speak, Councillor Smith?
Just to say that it's the usual monthly investments. I took particular note this time to have a look. We've got a couple of loans just about to expire, which is wonderful. We also have a couple of deposits about to expire, and we'll get a higher interest rate on those. And the thing I took out of it this particular month was that whilst we have loans approximately of 13,000, we have deposits of 13 million, and we have deposits of 30 odd. Whilst we're paying high interest on a couple of loans, notably one for the waterworks, the sewerage works, and also for the civic centre, the amount of interest we're getting on our loans, on our investments, far exceeds what we're paying out in loans. So I think it's a very positive report, and I think it's healthy. Thank you.
Thank Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Smith?
No relation. I'll just add that we seem to be tracking well in terms of percentage of rates that we are collecting, which even though the rate base is a little higher because of what we were allowed by IPART, is below just below what it normally is at this time of the year. So that's good.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Any further comments? Councillor West?
Just very briefly, Madam Mayor, thank you. Just to pick up on the point that Councillor Smith is so appropriately making in regards to the investments and the loans. There are a couple of loans that are coming off in the next couple of years, which is always good news. I just hope that nobody looks at this on the surface and says that there's $13 million in debt and $30 million loan, $30 million invested. That money that's invested is in many cases tied to a function, or it's there for a particular purpose as we go forward into the future. It still doesn't change Council's financial position that we don't have a lot of spare cash to be throwing around. And it just highlights that Council's prudent management over the years is coming to fruition. That said, there's still not a reason to celebrate, and I think interest rates in the last 2 years have probably hurt homeowners and younger families who have a little bit of indebtedness, but Council's investing some money. We're getting a couple of % more than we may have budgeted for, which is taking some of the financial pressure off the council, which is, I think, something we need to be mindful of in the whole conversation about debts and cost of living.
Thank you, Councillor West. Councillor Smith, right of reply?
Yes, Mayor Fagan, just that higher interest rates, whilst they're positive, I do acknowledge that it's a double-edged sword. We're picking up some people, we're losing on others.
Thank you. Anyone else further comments? I've had the right of reply. Oh, I put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. And we're now on to page 45, the section 355 committee draft minutes for the Cowra Regional Art Gallery. Somebody move that. Councillor Smith, Councillor Watts, thank you very much. Councillor Smith, would you like to speak?
In the unavoidable absence of the delegate to the Art Gallery Committee, there are 2 sets of minutes here, I think October, November and December, and they talk about a very, very busy period, as it always is at the Art Gallery. They talk about coming events, including Upstart and so on. So things seem to be progressing very well over there.
Thank you. Councillor Watt?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Smith. Only to add that at the moment the Behind the Lines display is on for another week, I think, and if you haven't seen it, it is one of my favourites of the year, so check it out.
Thanks, Councillor Watt. I agree. Any further comment? Right of reply, Councillor Smith? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. We're up to page 54. This is the committee minutes for the Traffic Committee. Councillor Paul Smith, Councillor Peter Wright, Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mayor Fagan. The minutes are all there for everybody to read, and I assume they have. The interesting thing of this is the Mulligan Street to Redfern Street to Nangar Street approval for a double, which is a new thing for us. The truck drivers tell me that it is the future of trucking industry, and we will see more people seeking approval to travel on our roads with these longer vehicles. So I think it's something to watch, just providing it doesn't affect or damage our roads. I don't see a problem for it.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Wright?
Yeah, no, I think what support what Councillor Paul Smith said. There's going to be a lot of changes with our traffic operations going forward, and these V doubles are one thing, and getting them into areas where other trucks could get to. We have to find a good way of getting them into the area without degrading our infrastructure, and we trust that our team our teams can address all these requirements. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Wright. Any further comment? Councillor Watt?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a question on item 4, what our plans are to, so in relation to the A double access, if we have plans or members of the traffic committee have plans around monitoring any impact on the road surface and changing the management of that in our plans.
Yeah, well, the process is they apply to us of the route they want to take. We then get a permit for them to travel that route. We follow them and video the way they go around the corners, if they can keep it within the section of road that we think. And if all that's well and good, we approve it. But yeah, that's the process, that we get a permit for them to come and have an experimental run and video them from behind. So.
Would you like to comment?
In terms of monitoring what potential pavement damage might occur, the application that was received for this particular A double, even though it's a larger truck with the load that it's carrying there, all of its axle loads are less than the maximum axle loads on that route at any rate. So, and as per the report there, Mulligan Street's already approved as a B double high mass limits. The high mass limits transport anyway, so it's going to be very difficult to determine which truck is causing damage or.
Thank you, Councillor Smith.
A question, if I may, through you to someone on the committee perhaps. The Bumbaldry endurance ride, can we have a date for that? I can't find it here, and what is planned and what's going to be closed off?
It would be in the traffic committee, and I can't tell you.
Find it.
Yeah. I'll take it on notice if I can. I'll get back to you. Do you have it, Dirk? I can tell you that it's not actually at Bumbaldry, it's at Woodstock. And
It does say Bumbaldry at Woodstock, but I
yeah,
didn't
it's
really understand what
it is at Woodstock mainly on private property around Woodstock. They will have signs on the roads and all of that. So
Dirk's got the date, I think.
It's on the.
That's okay. So it's just the normal ride that they have every year, and they manage it extremely well with signage and so on. It's come to our place at one stage.
Councillor Wright.
Just a point of clarification, with those A triples, it's for the permission is for the truck who applies for it. It's not a general condition for any A triple to use that road. Is that right?
Through the chair, the question that I answered for Councillor Erin was associated with the truck that applied for it. But when this is approved, the route will be open for all A doubles into the future.
Thank you. Is there any further? Can we put in the date in the meeting in the notes for the next meeting? That would be handy. Any further comments? Write a reply.
just to clarify one thing with these A double trucks, they do actually steer at the back as well. So I don't know how that works, but they do. So therefore they're better to go around corners than actually a B double is. So they tell me. Right.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Extra knowledge there gained from all of us. Okay, so I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Now we're on page 4.2, page 60, the minutes of the Sale Yards Committee. A mover, Councillor West, Seconder, Councillor Wright. Councillor West.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think probably the issue that came out of this is concern to the committee is the electronic tagging of sheep and how that is being unfolded and rolled out. And the committee is going to meet again next week just to discuss the progress. And as a result of this meeting, we'll also be asking the local member to, on two fronts. One is to seek some extension of time in terms of the deadline for the expenditure of the government financial assistance or Department of Prime Ministry financial assistance, and the second component is to suggest that what they're providing is simply not enough in terms of dollars. There are some sections of the agricultural industry which are now coming out and saying they want to walk away a little bit from the electronic scanning system in New South Wales, which is creating a little bit of speculation around how well this is going to be rolled out and when it might actually finish on being rolled out. And this does involve expenditure for the sale yard operator to bring it up to speed. I have no doubt that we'll have to do this at some stage, and I must say that the staff are working very, very hard in order to try to ensure that we've facilitated being able to commence the electronic tagging and reporting at the appropriate date. And some of the small trials they've done over there, particularly around movement of stock, have been quite rewarding from their perspective and quite compelling. So they're the main issues to come out of it, Madam Mayor, that I would draw the council's attention. Stock numbers are holding up, the budget is holding up. It's a difficult period, but at this particular point in time, I think the sale yards is an asset this council should continue to support for as long as we possibly can. I'm sure Councillor Wright will have something to add.
Thanks, Councillor West. Councillor Wright.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor West touched on the controversy that come out of the meeting there. Half the agents are going one direction, other agents are prepared to implement it. The Agents Association, Alpha, have got a story going around that this can't be done in the time suggested, and they're going away from it, and they're suggesting that Wagga's not going to sign up for it, and Forbes are arguing against it. As a committee member and some of the agents that I was speaking to said this is just a red herring, that we have to be on board with what the Department of Agriculture or DPI a suggestion, and we need to be ready when they want it to roll out, or we will not be able to operate our sale yard. And Forbes did a big media release 10 days ago about the new EID tagging system for sheep. They're implementing it in their sale yards. So they're not happy with the funding or when it might start, but they're going to be ready to start when it needs to be. And I dare say Wagga would be exactly the same. The agents could be, the Agents Association could be playing friends with the bigger sale yards and hoping to close down smaller sale yards. And to that effect, Cowra sale yard has been working with DPI in doing on how to implement it best to make things work the best. And we have a good rapport with the DPI, and we have got models there ready to go. And the money is, there's been some money allocated of $128,000, where we think we might need $160,000 to do all 4 drafts. The problem is, well, it isn't a problem. 128,000 is there, but we have to spend the money, then apply for it to come. Have to apply for the DPI to then pay the invoice after we can prove that we spent the money, and so there'll be a lag in the money transaction thing. But seeing we're such a well-managed council, money-wise, it shouldn't be any problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Any further comment? Right of reply, Councillor West.
Yeah, thank you, and concur with Councillor Wright. And yeah, I too did see that press release from Forbes indicating where they're going full steam ahead to comply. I'm not just pick up the point about how the grant is unfolded. I'm not sure that the sale yard reserve has sufficient to cover that cash flow situation. So, Mr. General Manager, we might be talking to you about that in the short term.
I'm sure he will find money for you. Thank you. Pretty confident. Thank you, Councillor West. And I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Now we have the Director of Environmental Services report, valid application 137/2021, the Campbell Street, Cowra. Councillor Watt has declared an interest and left the room. We'll close the door. And I need a mover and a seconder. If I could have one. Councillor West, Councillor Judy Smith. We're on page 72. Councillor West.
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor. Happy to move the recommendation. This is an industry which is in operation, and a lot of work being done by council staff in particular to get this industry to the table to actually be able to apply some conditions of consent and to provide formal concurrence for them to conduct their business. And it is, to some extent, it employs a number of people, and it is something this council has always tried to support industry. That's not at any cost, and I think that's a point that needs to be made. And I note that some of the concerns that were raised, and we accept the concerns that were raised, and we understand those concerns. But the EPA in particular has come down with some general terms and conditions which do cover the issues around noise and the hours of operation, which have been cut. The lighting issue around reducing the light, and of course the screening. So it becomes a far more palatable, I would hope, operation for the residents in that general area. It is a balance, and I hope it turns out to be a satisfactory balance, and I hope that the applicants take seriously the condition of consent that have been that are recommended to be applied to it. But all in all, I think this is one that we should be approving, and I'm not sure that we have grounds to not approve it, which is also a salient point. So with that, I'm happy to save my any further comments to summing up.
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
Thank you. It is a very complex application, and as it should be, because it's a complex industry and carried out near a creek and a river. It requires a lot of permissions and conditions from a lot of organisations. Working near overhead power lines code of practice, the EPA, and there are a lot of hoops that the EPA quite rightly demands that the applicants go through, Transport for New South Wales. And of course, there have been 3 submissions which were concerned about noise and dust and impact on the environment and lighting, and we know in the past some of that has not been all it could have been and should have been. So I'm really pleased that the applicants have gone to, I think, a great deal of trouble to comply or be about to comply with all those conditions, and I thank the director and her staff, because it's not been an easy, and it has been a very lengthy process dating, I think, from 2020, and numerous iterations and revisions that have had to be gone through, and submissions and resubmissions and all that sort of thing. So I'm really pleased to see that it has come to this. I hope and am sure that the applicants plan to do the right thing, and should the conditions not continue to be met, I'm sure that council will hear about them and take steps. But it is pleasing to see another big industry in Cowra being able to go forward in a manner that hopefully respects neighbours, the environment, and all those they need to deal with.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Any further comments? Councillor Paul Smith.
Yes, Mayor Fagan. I support Councillor West's statement that it is a balance, and I just hope it can be kept in balance. And this has been ongoing since 2019. I do suspect that somebody was aware of looming law changes from the New South Wales state government and the timing of reallocation of definitions. I'm going to support this, but I would hope that the neighbours will monitor the conditions and let council know if they feel they're not being adhered to.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Wright?
Yeah, a lot of things have been covered here. It's interesting that the government did bring down a change in how industrial land is now allocated. That we used to have light and heavy industrial land. Now we only have industrial land, and you can have any form of industry on that land. Because if that hadn't happened, this industry would not be able to continue out there, because it would be deemed to be heavy industry, and it was deemed light industry up until then. The site has been used for industry for some 40 odd years, if not more. But it's had controversy most of its life with either odour or waste product in the settling ponds that was contaminated to the soil. It was interesting that they had a lot of complaints from the Tarragala residents when the wool plant was there, but now they don't seem to mind so much with what's happening there. I suppose as long as the noise and the light stops at night, they're happy, and it's employing a lot of people. But all residents need to, in the vicinity of the area, need to have their lifestyle protected the best way they can. And just to add a little bit to Councillor Paul Smith's comment that it will be up if the residents feel that the conditions aren't being met, it won't be the residents that's got to ensure they are being met. It will be council or the EPA or whatever. But if you notify us, that's all you need to do. You haven't got to take the battle on yourself. It sort of grew out from a mushroom. They started there, then they it looks like they've got to work less hours than they've been working, and I hope they can do it. And I wish them well with their enterprise, as long as it remains within the conditions applied. These conditions are to, if this industry was placed anywhere in the Cowra Shire, they would have very similar issues and conditions. So this is not a trip where we're going to say, oh, you started without a DA, you're going to be in trouble. We're trying to make you compliant and keep the people employed there and keep your business going. And with that, I'll rest.
Thank
I'll have a
you,
rest.
Councillor West, right of reply.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, if you read this report, it is complex. There's a number of issues that have to be resolved. It's been touched on in the chamber that we acknowledge the work the staff have done, because, to be quite frank, there were some issues in that particular operation that we became aware of, and council staff have worked very, very hard to try to resolve those issues, which have now seen that there's an appropriate DA being lodged and now been assessed. So it is a complex issue. And the EPA have come up with some quite good conditions of consent, including reducing the operating hours of the facility. So I think we need to keep in mind that every decision we make in terms of DAs, we consider all sides of the coin, if you like, of the story, as do senior staff and our staff when they assess these. They're very diligent in that. And I think you read the report again to see how that those concerns are dealt with and are assessed appropriately. And as I said earlier, some of the conditions of consent actually deal with some of those issues that have been raised. I just want to touch on one thing. There's been a lot of conversation about the change in zoning. I'm not sure who might have known something about the change in zoning I certainly had no idea they were going to do the change in zoning, and it wasn't Cowra Shire Council that changed the zoning. It's a state government decision to change the zoning. So when we talk of the change in zoning, whether someone knew something, I'm not going to speculate, not even pretend to speculate. But council was not aware of it, and it's a state government decision, which is across the broader landscape, not just in Cowra Shire Council. And if a developer's coming in under the new regime, well, that's what the regime's probably there for in some respects, to help industry and business to grow in the eyes of state government. In terms of Cowra, employment generating is important. It brings jobs, it brings dollars to the town. To get our balance is something we've got to consider. With that, I fully support this and recommend it to you, colleagues.
Thanks, Councillor West. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Get Councillor Watt can return. Thank you. And we have no late reports. No late reports, no notices of motion, no urgent matters to be dealt with without notice. Then I'll take a motion to consider the confidential report listed below in a meeting closed to the public in accordance with section 10A2 of the Local Government 1993, 9.1, the car park lease, 74 Kendall Street, Cowra. So this matter is considered to be confidential under section 10A2DI of the Local Government Act, and the council is satisfied that discussion of this matter in an open meeting would, on balance, be contrary to the public interest, as it deals with commercial information of a confidential nature that would, if disclosed, prejudice the commercial position of the person who supplied it. I have a mover, Councillor Paul Smith, Councillor Aaron Watt. Thank you very much. All in favour? Close the meeting. Thank you.